First story. Harass my 18-year-old sister? Prepare to lose your job. This happened over 6 years ago, so I'm a little fuzzy on all of the details, but it is one of my proudest moments. I am 8 years older than my sister, and although we didn't live in the same town anymore by the time she graduated high school, I was so excited for her to attend university because she applied for the same program as I did, and knowing her, she was going to freaking kill IT in a way I never could. I am shy, awkward, and overall non-confrontational. She is fierce, charming, and never backs down from a fight. Our brother in the middle is a perfect mix between these traits. When she told me she was traveling down south for a conference related to a potential major, I believe I was really excited for her. This conference also had a career fair, and it was going to be the first one she'd attended. I gave her some advice about how to present herself. She had her resumes and some companies in mind, and I knew she was going to do great. Cue to the day after, and I get a call from her in distress. So she wasn't sure how a certain networking interaction went and wanted to ask me what I thought. There was a man from a certain company who took great interest in her resume, a freshman. Not unheard of, but at this point she had very little experience. So he pulled her aside and wanted to talk to her further. He asked her which hotel she was staying at. She got nervous and said he should take her to dinner that evening. At the same time, this man, who she said looked older than our dad, reached out and stroked a strand of her hair. At this point she started crying, and I saw red. I asked her for this man's name and the company he worked for, and told her to avoid that table/company at all costs. I told her she did nothing wrong, and he was being extremely inappropriate. I told her to keep a buddy with her while she was still down there, and it was all right. She told me she was scared about talking to other companies in the future. How does she know if they really want her as an employee or if someone is going to be creepy? Also, as this man had her resume, apparently he'd texted that he was in front of her hotel, and she avoided responding because she was scared. Because of this, she was scared to hand out her resume. I didn't think it was possible for me to be more enraged than I already was. She was 18. First career fair. Already she was terrified of career fairs because of this sleazy old fart. Hell no. Not my freaking sister. The world will not take her shine. I told her that I would take care of it and hung up. I immediately told my boss that I'd need to take the first half of the day for a personal matter. First, I looked up this man's LinkedIn so I could put a face to the rage and disgust I felt. Then I contacted my own company's HR and asked what the procedure would be if an employee of ours engaged in behavior like this while on company time. She had wonderful advice and urged me to contact this man's company's HR department as well. So I did. I left a detailed email with what had happened, their employee's name, and the location of the conference and career fair where he'd been representing their company. I left my name and number as well in case they wanted to know any more details, and I recall getting a call from their HR department soon afterward telling me they were taking this seriously and were going to investigate. The woman sounded very sympathetic. She told me that this man was someone that had been with the company for a while and had actually retired, so now he was mainly focused on recruitment for the company, somewhat on a consultant level. I want to say by early afternoon, I received an email that this man had been let go from the company completely, and they thanked me for my report. The speed at which this all happened lends me to believe this was not the first time. Either that or his behavior was such a liability, sending a creep to your recruitment, that it was easy to just let him go. Let me tell you, that was the most fulfilling cackle I had ever cackled in all my days. I called my sister up and told her the news, and she was amazed. She thanked me, and we talked a little more about what to look out for when networking. That being pulled aside, generally, I guess a good thing, but it sucks that this person took advantage of that. I told her not to take this horrible experience as normal, because it was not, and emphasized she did nothing wrong. The good news is, 6 years later, she has her bachelor's and master's degree and has a stacked lineup of intern/co-op experience. Think mix of startups and big-name industries, and is currently rocking her career at a meaningful startup in her field. I am still shy, awkward, and relatively non-confrontational. But if you come for my siblings, I go for blood. Second story. Scream at me for 40 minutes on the phone. Enjoy getting investigated by the IT department for a data breach. I just remembered a story for my last job that I think would be perfect for this subreddit. When I was working for local government, I was manning the phones on the service desk. We were about to finish for the day, like we were preemptively putting our coats on because we were about to sign off and leave. That's how close we were to 5 p.m. At 4 hours, 59 minutes, and 45 seconds, 15 seconds before the phone lines closed, someone decides to call the service desk. Let's call her Jane A. Jane had issues logging into her mobile phone. Okay, easy. Probably needs a quick password reset. It'll take a few minutes to do, and we'll be on our way. Oh boy, was I wrong. She decided that this was my fault. Demanded to talk to the mobiles guy who had already left for the day at 4 p.m., and that was also my fault. Seeing where this was going, I popped her in mute while she was rambling and asked my manager if I could hang up because she was rude. My manager took this opportunity to listen in to the call from her desk, and what came was absolutely mind-blowing. For almost 30 minutes, I was screamed at by Jane, who decided that she didn't want any of my help because it was all somehow my fault. I offered to pass it right over to the mobiles guy so we could pick it up first thing in the morning, because if she doesn't want to go through troubleshooting steps to help her out, then there's nothing else I can do. More screaming continued. I was meant to go home 30 minutes ago and was now being verbally abused during my unplanned overtime. I killed her with nothing but kindness, which didn't work. She agreed to let the mobiles guy pick it up after another 10 minutes of screaming. We hung up, and I broke down because I was so angry I couldn't say anything to her. I was in tears. My manager was furious with her. Worst of it all is she's a colleague. She couldn't believe that she'd speak to a colleague that way. The next morning, my manager brought in a box of chocolates for me and went straight to our department leader to complain. I got a letter a week later from Jane, apologizing to me. Then, all of a sudden, she disappears. No active directory profile for her. She'd been fired. Turned out she was actually using another colleague's account for her mobile phone and accessing their files. Jane's colleague, who also shared the same first name, let's call her Jane B., worked in child protection, and Jane, it was accessing files she had no business getting into. Massive GDPR breach. She got hold of Jane B's username and password. She passed all the security checks using Jane B's information and got herself fired. All because she couldn't access Jane B's mobile phone and threw a fit to the person who had enough patience to let her scream at them for 40 minutes. I got extra pay for those 40 minutes, a box of chocolates, an apology, and she got herself fired for verbally abusing me and getting investigated by the IT department. ETA. No, you may not use my story in one of your cheap-ass text-to-speech Reddit readings videos. Do not ask me, because I will say you do not have permission.